What excites me the most is we have so many people right now coming up with so many different ways that AI is going to change things. We're going to have a great discussion. Please help me welcome back the panelists, Durga, Eric, Rob, and Lucy. So as I said, I really do like to go into this eyes wide open, talking about all the exciting possibilities, but also what's it going to take for us to get there, what are the limitations we need to keep in mind. But I think before we get into the downsides, talk about some of the things that have you excited. What do you think from each of your perspectives are things that we can't do, that we're not really seeing, that are way beyond what a chatbot might provide today? And for context, like I think oftentimes when people are criticizing generative AI or saying it can't do much, oftentimes I find what they're doing is typing something into ChatGPT and it can't immediately do the entire task, therefore generative AI will never be able to do it. Well, there's a lot more tools, there's a lot more ways to specialize the technology, but what are some of the exciting possibilities that each of you see in your respective fields? Maybe, Lucy, do you want to start?
So let me just start out with a part that I mentioned during my talk about SolarBox. In SolarBox, we are planning this fine-tuning module inside SolarBox, which will go on premises in our customers' environments. And what we're expecting from this is that users can put in private documents into the SolarBox, and it will fine-tune within on-premises, which will provide a very secure and fast and very powerful model just for their own. This will provide much better performance compared to other cloud services because it is a custom model built for them with this fine-tuning model. So what I'm expecting is just going beyond security. You can build a lot of models for your customers on premises. So that is something that I'm excited about.
And on-device AI, which we've been talking about a lot of this week, gets around some of the big limitations. You know, we hear about all the energy that is being used every time we hit the cloud, certainly whatever we can move on device, advantages in security, privacy. Rob, in terms of automotive, we saw a glimmer of some of the potential here. We saw what it might mean to have this powerful assistant in the car, to combine it with ADAS. What are some of the things that are happening behind the scenes in automotive that aren't necessarily visible today, but what are some of the things that have you excited for what this can mean to? I mean, we all spend a lot of time in our cars.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks for the question. There's a lot here. And first, we can certainly talk about the consumer experience, the driver experience in the vehicle, and how that's really starting to transform. It becomes much more personalized, and how you take the environment they may have in their home, bring it into the vehicle, and using AI to try and really more personalize that experience, and honestly make the vehicles much more enjoyable to operate, as well as some of the safety features. But going behind the scenes, so when we think about vehicle technology, and there's a number of domains we can really talk about here, but in vehicle technology, when we think about how we have to train and fine-tune some of these models for autonomous and for ADAS, we just think about things like scene generation and automated scene search that happens behind the scenes. So as you're building these really complex models for autonomous driving and for ADAS systems, you've got to go out and take thousands, millions of pictures, right, of different scenes out in the road. And to be able to catalog that scenery or be able to catalog those scenes, so we may know what a traffic cone looks like in one environment or a stop sign looks like in another environment. But now, how can I use generative AI to have that stop sign, pictured as, well, I have a rendering of it in a clear day, but what does it look like when it's raining out, when there's fog, when it's covered in snow, when it's half covered in snow? So be able to create these models and be able to create just some of that new scene generations is what we're seeing some of those advances just on vehicle technology. When we move outside the vehicle, and I think about the consumer experience and the buying experience that a lot of our OEMs have to work with our customers, we're seeing a new way of interacting with the consumer and helping our OEMs, helping our dealer networks really begin to provide a more enjoyable experience and a more curated experience for that customer. When I get into the shop floor, and when I think about how we're manufacturing, not just automobiles, but when we think about just across the entire discrete and process manufacturing industries, we think about shop floor automation. One of the biggest problems a lot of my customers have right now is how do they continue to retain knowledge? How do they continue to train? I have customers that have code that's sitting there running shop floors that's 20, 30, 40 years old. How do they retain that knowledge and those knowledge workers? So we're really thinking about applications in AI that do that, and that shop floor automation, which is really where I think some of the edge AI capabilities I'm super excited about, and how we make that connection between what we're doing in the cloud and now bring that into some of the edge devices that really help automate the shop floor. So I could talk for hours about this. It's a very exciting topic.
They say we don't have hours. Eric, I'm curious, because IBM sees so many different types of customers. As you mentioned, you're working on premise, you're working in the cloud, you're kind of Switzerland, What are some of the things that have you really excited that people may not realize AI is already doing?
Okay, let me address that. A good question, by the way. Let me address it from a research perspective, because this is my home turf.
Totally.
And I'm convinced you would get 200 different answers depending on who you ask within research. Personally, I believe one of the most exciting areas or developments, as we have seen, and as I mentioned earlier, with the zoo of AI models, having to serve a zoo of diversity of end devices and use cases. We are reaching that point of what we called in the good old CNN world as distributed MLOPS, distributed reflecting on how do I handle and manage thousands of AI models at the same time. These are the approaches that are existing today are literally like, one example is federated learning. How you're trying to orchestrate the several models at different locations, extract the changed parameters, and then refine everything, push it back down. This is a one-way road. It goes up, gets optimized, goes back down. I think that one of the next big challenges that can be potentially addressed through agents is the cross-communication between AI models. Some people call it swarm intelligence, distributed intelligence. And I think that this can have a major impact on a lot of different industries. Let's take, for instance, the automotive industry. There will be, in the future, there will be scenarios where even your autonomously driving vehicle will not be able to step on the brakes and stop before it hits the trunk of the car ahead of him. The only chance it would have is to literally whistle and say, car left to
I
me.
was really hoping you were going to say turbo boost. I don't know if there's any Knight Rider fans.
That's a different project. We're helping Doc Brown and Marty to get some autonomous driving into the DeLorean. What if your vehicle would have the ability to actually inform the car on the left lane next to you saying, hey, step on the brakes, I'm coming over in 20 milliseconds.
And that's not going to be you talking in human
No,
language.
no,
That's
no,
going to be the vehicle-to-vehicle communication.
You, the driver, you have not even realized that there's no time anymore.
Yeah.
It's completely taken over by the vehicle. But that requires a vehicle-to-vehicle communication. So the cross-communication of AI models and their ability to go into action mode, which is essentially one way to describe agents.
Totally.
You have a brain, and now you allow that AI model to grow arms and legs and go from walk mode into talk mode. That is, I think, one of the next big barriers, which a lot of people around the world are working on. And it's very exciting.
And Durga, I think this whole conference has obviously been what is Qualcomm excited about. What are you personally excited about? What are the things that you're like, can't wait to see happen, that you know are going to happen? Maybe by the time we come here next year, maybe it'll be a few summits from now. But what are the things that have you personally excited?
All right, personally excited. So I want to actually first talk of something that you've witnessed over the last 2 days, and including today with my colleagues over here. There's a ton of work that's going on in AI, and we partner with so many different people. It's a privilege to actually be in that position. As Qualcomm, we are a horizontal provider of platforms working with everyone. If I just think of the diversity of models that are coming in, frankly speaking, we want to host every single AI model on the planet on our hub, because we want to make it easy for developers to actually go from there. And speaking of the diversity of the models that I've seen, we barely scratched the surface with where we are right now, but increasingly, there's a lot of every different country is thinking of their own models as they're coming in. At the end of the day, language is something that preserves a bit of the culture, the heritage of that country too. So there's a lot more work that's going on. That's ongoing work. But you did ask the question, what am I personally looking forward to? I think both from enterprise productivity and consumer creativity and productivity tools, there's tons of things that are ongoing, and in fact, you heard a lot of it already today. But there is another domain that's gradually coming up, and we are working on, these are domain-specific models. Everything that we've talked about so far, most of it is information that is out there in public domain in one way or the other, but there's so many different sectors where the data is kind of just within that domain. It's not really been used for any kind of training so far, or even fine-tuning for that matter. And I had the chance to actually talk to one of the key persons from the Mayo Clinic. Medicine is one of those places where, you think about it and it always seems like, yeah, it's the future. At some point in time, it's going to be fully digitized and there's going to be a lot of applications that will come in from there. But was it 3 weeks back or so when for the first time I think that the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to someone who worked on AI with the new protein structures. That is something, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that you see every day, but the applications of generative AI in terms of a lot of the complex problems that have existed in these domains like medicine, I'm actually personally speaking, I'm looking forward to those applications. It is something that it has a lot of potential, a lot of work to do. Every time we talk of Copilot for our PCs, and I keep thinking, okay, a medical Copilot, how would that actually transform? You have doctors who have an additional piece of information coming in. Yeah, that's something that I'm really looking forward to in the future on a personal note. But otherwise, if you just take a look at all the work that we are doing right now, it's immensely useful because all the work that we do in all these different domains, they're not siloed. There's cross-pollination of ideas from one domain to the other. So every time we work with our partners in the industry, in enterprise domain or in consumer domain, eventually a lot of those learnings go into other domains as well.
So in the time that we have, I really want to dive into the how we get there from here. And that's a mix of both intentionality, recognizing eyes wide open of what the technology can and can't do. I mean, just this week, so we've seen, I don't know how many of you saw Anthropic announced this thing where it'll let you take over, the model can take over your PC and do all these things for you, which to me sounds both great and terrifying. And I feel like that's true of most of these more advanced things. Like the real gain isn't my computer telling me an answer and improving my productivity by telling me how I can do something as a human slightly faster. There's real limits to that. When you get into this agent world, you can do things faster. It can do all these incredible things on your behalf. But you're also letting the computer loose in a sense. How do you see those obstacles? How do we ensure we have a fairer, better, more just world in addition to a more productive world in each of your fields? And that's for whoever wants to start us off. How are you overcoming some of those obstacles? Maybe, yeah, Eric, it's a good place to start since in research is where a lot of that work happens.
That is a topic that enjoys very high priority within research. The ethical aspect of AI models, setting guardrails and boundary conditions to make sure that from the behavior, let it be the agent or let it be a standalone AI model, that you have the ability to make sure that there is no derailing, there's no hate, proficiency, anything that could jeopardize the journey and the original purpose of this AI model. So we have even a dedicated large team that is dealing, and we have an internal ethics board for AI within research that is dealing with this topic only. Explainability, trustworthiness, ethic points, and I believe, and I fully agree with you, this is a very, very important topic, and I am glad to see that also other large corporations are picking it up as well. Because with every new revolutionary technology, you can always use it to the good and use it for the worse. Yeah?
And it's not a fait accompli that it's going to be the best or the worst. It's actually what we do with it.
Exactly, exactly. That's also one driver for us to provide the latest technologies to the widest community possible, to the developer community, to make it open source, that there is by no means any possibility that there will be a few large players dominating the market, and we just have to follow whatever they crank out in terms of AI model.
So maybe I'll take a stab in a slightly different way, which is, I think at the end of the day, we trust what we understand, what we have some experience with, and eventually we all don't do everything by ourselves. We do delegate, which involves a level of trust. But if you were to quantify it, AI, is it safe or not? Well, every model creator believes that their model is safe because based on the set of metrics that they have used internally. But increasingly, there is a need to have like a standardized metric with which you can say, okay, here's a model. I want to actually run it through a few tests, completely randomized tests, and see if it is safe or not. And as Qualcomm, we've been working with a specific group called MLOPS, in which we chair the AI safety group, just so that, and the first draft of those specifications are going to come out in December. That will be the first time that anyone can bring their model, run it through that safety test, and say, yeah, it's safe. And it's not like a binary metric, but you have some level of that. That's one level of trust that you might have or not, but that's only one of the models. But then everything is moving towards an agentic orchestration, which means you trust your agent. But how do you trust it? Well, it's a combination of things. One is maybe in the beginning, imagine, not too far from now, that in the beginning of time, when you buy a new device, you power it on and it's setting up everything, you might actually put your agent in a mode wherein it's still learning. It's still kind of learning your preferences. Your preferences don't exist yet right now. And maybe you put it on some training wheels in the beginning, and at some point in time say, yeah, I'm going to trust it a little bit more and keep going from there onwards. I don't think there is like a black and white approach of the zero trust and then you go to 100% trust. It's going to be a ramp. But it does come down to...
I do think it's ramping faster than I expected.
It is ramping fast.
That idea from Anthropic that suddenly your PC is running free, and I do agree. I think training wheels would be a great idea.
Be helpful, yeah. And I'm looking forward to the day that one day when someone asks me, okay, hey, what do you think we should do over here? And I'd like to say, talk to my agent. I mean my AI agent. I've never used that phrase before, but I'd like to use that one day.
Yeah, if it can raise a middle schooler, I'd be game for that.
Yeah, the way we're thinking about this, in addition to what my colleagues are saying up here, but the way that we're really thinking about this is that we're working backwards some of our customer problems. It's what we do at Amazon. And our customers have come to us and said they want choice, they want flexibility, they want to make trade-offs between cost performance, and they also want to look at scalability, but they also want to look at the performance of a model, and that performance comes in a number of different areas. So what we're really trying to do is provide our customers with those tools, right? So we have a set of services here, whether it's in SageMaker, Bedrock, Amazon Q. We look at these and we build capabilities inside these services to allow our customers to make informed choices, build guardrails around how do they build and train and deploy models. And so we're really trying to provide that tooling. And then we help our customers with things like advice and centers of excellence around best practices for AI, ML, Gen AI solutions, as well when they build and fine-tune these models. So we're really taking the approach that we want to help our customers make the choices that are important for their business, because what we realize is that not one size fits all. And what may work for one customer, the set of parameters that they're measuring performance on may be very different than a different set of customers or industry, or just may differ by country. So we're really trying to provide those tools inside the services that we provide to allow our customers to make those best choices as well.
And Lucy, I'm curious, you're working so directly with enterprises. Enterprises obviously care about all of those things. What are top of mind? What do you hear their kind of concerns are, and what are you trying to do to address them?
Right, so as a model builder that works directly with enterprises, the most important thing our customers want is performance. It's all about performance. By performance, I'm meaning accuracy rather than speed. It has to be accurate. So what we're trying to do, but then there's the third option, the third aspect. It has to be cheap. So being smart, being fast, and cheap all at the same time. So what we're trying to do actually is we get a device, and given that device, we try to get as smart as possible. That's what we're doing as a model builder. We try to cram the information into this one single model, into one single GPU, or sometimes an NPU, and get it smarter. And what we expect for partners that work on the hardware side, we want the capacity of each of these hardwares to get stronger as fast as possible so that we can deliver the intelligent models out to the customers as fast as possible.
Well, I don't think we've solved all the problems that we'll have to confront, nor have we laid out all the ways that AI is going to change things. But hopefully, we've whetted everyone's appetite and sort of given you a sense of what are the things that kind of different industries are grappling with. I'm sure by the time we all reconvene next year in Hawaii, we are reconvening next year in Hawaii?
I think so. You should
Okay.
talk to Don.
All right. Well, thank you very much to the panel. Thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed this conversation, I do a daily newsletter for Axios. You can go to aiplus.axios.com. And I'd like to thank the panel and welcome back Claire Conley.
Thank you.